Hello, this is a tutorial about generating box plots using Microsoft Excel. So these are actually box plots. As you can see here, this is one box plot and this is another box plot, and yet here is yet another box plot. In box plot analyses, it's very important for you to understand what box plot really does and what it shows you. The most important thing about box plots is that it shows you the upper quartile, the lower quartile, and the median, as well as whiskers. So this is the whisker from the minimum to the minimum whisker, or the smallest whisker, and this is the upper whisker from the upper quartile to the upper whisker. So the same goes for the other box plots. In Microsoft Excel 2003 until 2013, you can't actually see a button that you can generate box plots with a single click in it. So what you've got to do, if you have a version of Microsoft Excel or Office Excel of 2013, let's say, you've got to generate it manually. However, in Excel 2016 above, there is a button specifically made for that. So I'm going to go through both in this tutorial. So for the manual box plot analysis, the first thing to do is to generate your data or collect your data, and the best thing to do is to arrange your data in an array fashion from A to Z, or Z to A, smallest to largest, or largest to smallest. However, it's not that important to do so, because the functions would generate the output from the data however you arrange it. If by any chance you name your data, you have to select your data first here. So this is the selection, the data is selected here, and then what you've got to do is to write the name of your data here, so that when you enter your data in a calculation, you can get the name of the data into the calculation and it generates the output for you based on the range, without just selecting the range and go. The most important parameters that we are going to use here is minimum, first quartile, median, third quartile, and maximum. So the first outputs that we need are these ones here, and I'm going to show you how to calculate these outputs. Then we generate lower whiskers and the upper whisker, median, third quartile, and first quartile, removing the median from them. By the way, the median is the second quartile, so the second quartile equates to the median, so bear that in mind, that this is quite important to know. To generate an output like this and generate your chart, the first thing to do, like what I said, is to calculate these parameters. So you write down minimum of the data that we have. Once you write data, it selects the data here. So if you have a look, all of the data that have been entered are selected because I named it as a range of data from the first one to the last one, excluding the title or the heading. So the same goes for the first quartile. So you write down quartile.exe, and then you write down the data, and you need the first quartile, and it will generate the first quartile for you. For now, let me just delete these ones so that it doesn't mix up with the tutorial later on. So for the median, you can either write down median, or you can write down quartile and then the data, then write down 2. So we either want the median or the second quartile. So it's 24.5. You could also write down equals to, what about that, median, then data, 24.5. For the second or third quartile, actually, you write down quartile, data array that you have, and then the third quartile. Then you write down maximum, and you have the data, and that's it. These are important to generate so that you create the output or the chart. This is the explanation of what it does, or how we do the procedure to generate the whiskers and the median and the quartiles from the already generated ones here, and what is the difference. So for the lower whisker, you subtract the minimum from the first quartile, then it becomes the lower whisker. However, the first quartile is the same as the first quartile here, so you write down this is equal to the first quartile. So the first quartile does not change, and bear that in mind. This is quite important. If you would like to generate the lower whisker, you subtract the minimum from the first quartile, and then you get the lower whisker. Then what you've got to do is to generate the second quartile. However, this should remove the first quartile from the median. So what you've got to do is to remove this, or subtract the first quartile from the median. Now for the third quartile, you remove the median from the first quartile. So you say how much higher is the quartile from the median. So how much higher is the third quartile from the median. So if you have the median here, how much is this one different, or how much difference in values can you see between the two? As for the last whisker, you subtract the maximum value from the third quartile and you get the upper whisker. Then you generate the Boxplot chart. So in order to generate this chart, what you can do, let me just remove this real quick, is to select the quartiles, the first, second and third quartiles here, and then go to insert chart, recommended chart, you go to all charts. So this is important, you select all charts, and in the column here you select stacked. You can get this stack or this stack, so it doesn't matter, whichever you'd like to choose. So choose this one here. This is a stacked chart. Now you have the quartiles. So the first thing to do is to remove these series. You don't need these ones here. And for the lower quartile, you don't want it to be filled, so you select it, you go to format, and you remove the filling and the outline of it, so you remove it. However, this is the lower quartile, or the lower whisker. You have to select it first and add error bars. You go to add elements or chart element, you go to error bars, more options, then minus. So you choose the minus, go to custom specific value. Here you have a specific value to choose. For the positive you just write down 0, while for the negative you choose the lower whisker. And there you go, this is your lower whisker here. As for the upper quartile, you need to add the whisker to the upper quartile. You select the upper quartile here, then you go to error bar, you do the same thing. However, this time you choose the maximum whisker, or the upper whisker. So you choose the plus sign, go to custom, and then in the upper quartile you use the positive value. So you have this one here, while removing this one, write down 0, and that's it. Now you have the box plot in your stash. You can change this color to a color that you would like to have, and this is quite descriptive. You can write whatever you'd like to here. You can just write down that this is a box plot. Yeah, so this is how you do it in earlier versions of Microsoft Excel. This is quite important to know, and if you have an updated version of Microsoft Excel, like Excel 365 or 2016 above, versions above that, you can just simply select your data and perform it. So we have these data here. You can select the output chart here. You can see this option here, box and whisker. This is the box plot. So if you have a look at this option, you can't see this option in Microsoft Office, let's say 2010. However, you can see it here in 2016, and once you click OK, it automatically generates it for you. It also tells you some other measures about the average values and etc, etc. You can also select the individual box plots. So this gives you an information about the population diversity of your data. So there is a difference obviously between the data distribution of the first population of data compared to the second one and the third one. Obviously the average value of the third one is the maximum and the average of the first one is the minimum, and the same goes for the other parameters. So that's it about this tutorial, and I hope you enjoyed learning it. Thank you for joining me.